Hey everybody! We are back and better than ever today, and we are going to be continuing to learn about volume. But how we've been learning about volume is just with regular rectangular prisms, just your normal everyday rectangular prism. Oh look, my printing job is done. Fantastic. There it is. Your normal everyday rectangular prism that just looks regular. It has its 6 sides, and that's it. And we find the volume of that, if you remember, multiply our length times our width times our height. But sometimes we're not so lucky. If you remember in our past lesson, 10-3, when we were working with irregular area, we didn't have just our regular rectangles and squares. We had different kinds of shapes. And that's the same thing that we can have except with volume. But luckily we can just follow the same procedures. What we would have to do is decompose our rectangular prism that's a little irregular. We would decompose that or cut it into 2 regular rectangular prisms. So if we look at this first slide with our first example, we have a rectangular prism right here that looks like a weirdly shaped L. But what we could do in order to find the volume of this rectangular prism is decompose it, cut it into 2. And we would cut it right along here into our A and B rectangular prisms, just like you see here. They cut it right along this line. So now all of this part is our A, and everything down here is our B. But now is the hard part of trying to see which measurements go with which rectangular prism. Because like we said, in an irregular area, not all of our measurements are now even able to be used. Like this 12. This 12 is talking about this whole piece up here. But we've cut this piece. So that 12 is no longer going to be used by us. Same with this 6. This 6 is just this little piece. It's not taking into consideration behind here. Okay? So we can't use that. For A, what measurements we are going to be looking at are this 9 meters, because it's taking this whole backside, this 4 meters, because that's right here, and this 5 meters, it's right here. We're only looking for measurements that cover the top part of our rectangular prism. And for B, we're going to be looking at this 10 meters right here, because that's the whole front. That's the whole front of that rectangular prism. So we want that 10 meters. We also want this 9 meters, because that's this whole side. And this 7, because we're only looking at up until here. This one would also be 7. We're only looking at right here. We're not looking all the way up, so that's why this 12 is no longer it. So to find A, we would do 4 times 9 times 5, and we would get 180 cubic meters. For B, we would do 10, 9, 7. We would get 630 cubic meters. And then just like irregular area, we would add them, and we would get a grand total, our full volume of 810 cubic meters. Okay? The thing with this is you're just going to have to do it in order to be able to see it. The practice of figuring out which measurements go with which rectangular prism, which one that we are even able to use anymore, that's going to be the real skill here. Let's look at our next one. We've already cut this one for you. We've already decomposed it right along this line down here into A and B. For A, in order to find that volume for A, we need a length, a width, and a height. So for A, we're going all the way from the bottom all the way to the top, so I want this 12 feet. This 12 feet is a part of A. I also want the top of A, and that would be 3 times 4. 12 times 3 times 4. Because that's this whole top part, this whole left part, I want that. And this would be 12 times 12, which would be 144 cubic feet. For B, I just want this little part here. So that would be, I want this side right here, that's 3 feet. I only want this part of the height, that would be 5 feet. And then I just want this little part right here, which would be 2 feet. So this would be 2 times 5 times 3 equals 30 cubic feet. And then I would add those. Okay, 174, almost went 7, that's not it. 174 cubic feet. We know how to find volume. That's not the big issue here. What is being able to determine which measurements to use for which rectangular prism. Let's look at another one. Now we could decompose this one of two ways. I want to decompose it like this, vertically, into an A and a B. For A, I only want this part on the bottom. So that's not 15. This is no longer 15. We cut that. What I want is this 10 inches. 10 times 2 right here, and 7 going all the way back. 10 times 2 times 7 equals 140. Cubic inches. All right, what about B? B is our larger one. So I want, still going all the way to the back, so that's still 7. But now I want to go from the very bottom to the very top, so that's that 8 inches right there. And then I don't want all the way down, that's still not this 15. What I want is this 5 inches. 7 times 8 times 5, and that would be 280 cubic inches. I'm going to add them and get 420 cubic inches. Let's look at one more before you try 2 on your own. So let's look at this one. We've cut this vertically a few times. Let's cut it horizontally. I have A and B on the top and bottom. All right, so for A, I only want from the very top until where B is. I don't want this 5 inches. 5 inches is the whole thing from top to bottom. I don't want that anymore. We just cut this 5 inches. What I want is actually back here. Doesn't have to be right here. We need to be able to realize that this measurement here is the same as this measurement here. So for A, I'm going to start, I have 3 inches right here. And then I want this 6 inches from back here to back here. 3 times 6. And then from all the way in the front to all the way in the back is 10. 3 times 6 is 18, times 10 is 180 cubic inches. And then I have a B too. For B, I want my whole front, because I'm really skinny but really wide. I want that whole front 10 inches. And next I want this whole back. So I'm going all the way from the front to all the way in the back. So I have 10 times 10 times, still not looking for this 5 inches. I only want this little piece. It's right back here, times 2. equals 200 cubic inches. I'm going to add them, and I would get 380 cubic inches. Here is the part where if you're still having trouble, you need to recognize that, stop yourself, and come find me. Come join my mini lesson. Flag me down if I'm no longer in a mini lesson. If you still are just not seeing where I'm getting these numbers from, please come find me so that way I can show you and we can go through it a little bit before you move on to these next two. But if you're still comfortable, you know where I'm getting these measurements from, you can kind of see where everything's going. I want you to do the next two on your own. Do the next two on your own. They look like this, and then they look like this. Try these next two. Try this one and this one on your own. Pause the video, come back with answers, and then we'll go over what the actual answers are. All right? So 3, 2, 1, pause the video. All right, I know that you might have decomposed these figures differently than I did, but you would still get the same answer. So, for this first one, I decomposed it vertically, right back there, to find A and B. For A, how I found that volume is I did 7, because that's this measurement, times 2, which is this measurement, times 5. I know that one was hard to see. It's actually located down here. From all the way to the left to all the way to the right, just like we're going left to right up here, that's 5 meters. You need to find that. Because in a rectangle and in a rectangular prism, opposite sides are equal. Even though these are on the opposite sides, this would be 5 meters, this would be 5 meters, this would be 5 meters, that one would be 5 meters as well. So A is actually 70 meters. And for B, we have 10, because it's just from this point to here. It's not 12. 12 is this whole thing. I only want the part that's in B. 10 by 5 by 4. That gives me 200. My answer is 270 meters cubed. And for the second one, I decompose them this way into A and B. And B is going to be long and skinny. A is going to be more of a square. And for A, we have 5, 5, and 12. 5, 5, and 12. That gives us 300. For B, I want this 4 because it's nice and skinny. This 12 because we're going from top to bottom, and this 11 because we're going from front all the way to the back. That will be 528. Add them together, you get 828 meters cubed. All right. I know this is a challenging subject, but what I want you to do is if you got those two problems correct, if you got both of those correct, I want you to stop the video and move on to your practices. Great work. If you got one or neither of them correct, please come up to my mini lesson. If I have not started a mini lesson yet, or if I'm not currently in a mini lesson, please flag me down. I have a few more problems that I can show you that we can look at. So if you got both of those right, I'll repeat myself, go on to your practices. If you got only one right or neither of them right, also stop the video and come find me. Come find me and we can go over a few more problems. Okay? That's what I want you to do. Everybody, I know this is tough. Really great work today. We are all working hard out there. But it's that time again. Time to go back to real life Mr. Tennell instead of virtual Mr. Tennell. But for right now, this is Mr. Tennell signing off.